Hey guys, it's Abby from Autumn of Pelennor and this is my July wrap-up video. So I managed to get through quite a few books this month. We've had 2 readathons on, we're in the middle of the booktubeathon right now, and I also read a decent amount and finished my TBR for the month. So I have my little bullet journal. Let's start with what I've actually read. The first book I read this month was Allergy by Cavan Scott and Mark Wright. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. Nothing wrong with it at all, it's just not hugely engrossing. It's a non-fiction book about Doctor Who, a TV show that I love, and it just tells you loads of different facts all the way from when it started to around Matt Smith's, near the end of Matt Smith's time. Then I read In the Shadow of Hitler, which I'll put here. I read it on my Kindle. It was an e-arc and I gave that 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't perfect and I much preferred certain sections to others. I really didn't like reading some parts of it, but I absolutely loved the parts that kind of revolved around Hitler in his youth. So 3 stars. Then I read Hit Squad by Sophie Mackenzie. I was about to say Sophie Kinsella. This is book 6 in the Medusa Project series and I gave this 4 stars. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I was hugely emotionally invested. By the end of it I was literally on the edge of my seat, freaking out, and I absolutely loved it, and I'm really glad that she ended it on an open note, because even though it's been years, when was this released? This was released in 2012, so even though it's been years, there's a chance of it carrying on one day. Probably not, but you know, I like that it's open whilst being nicely wrapped up. Then I read Being Nikki by Meg Cabot. This is the second book in the Airhead trilogy, and I really like this trilogy. It's like a really weird, girly mix with a tiny bit of sci-fi contemporary, and it's just really fun, and I get through these like really quickly, so that was enjoyable. Next up, Othello. I forgot to say that I gave Being Nikki 4 stars. I gave Othello 1 star. I DNF'd it. I just can't get on with it. It's so boring. I had a massive rant about it and then couldn't put it on YouTube because it was really long. It was really boring. I went and looked up the plot and I still didn't care, even once I knew everything that was going to happen. So maybe I'll get back to it one day, but right now it's going on the DNF pile and on my red shelves. Next up was a 4-star book, which is Fractured by Terry Terry. This is the second book in the Slated trilogy, and again, absolutely loved it. I read a summary, like a wrap-up of Slated, because I haven't read it in years, and I didn't feel like I had the time to reread it right now. And I'm really glad that I did, because it meant that I had a more deeper understanding of what was happening, and I just really enjoyed this, and I'm so excited to get onto Shattered, but I'm giving myself a bit of time so I can distinguish mentally between the books, because if I read books really close together, they blend into one another. So, next up was The Girl in the Blue Coat by Monica Hesse. I'll put the cover here. I listened to this through my library, through BorrowBox, obviously via audiobook, and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think I might have given it 5 stars if I'd read it physically. I think that the audiobook may have distanced me slightly from the events, which were quite emotional and traumatic, but it's a really good book and I definitely recommend, and it was lovely to read something about World War II that wasn't just within Britain and Germany. Then another 4-star read, again, here's the cover, is The Eye of the North by Sinead O'Hart. I got this as an e-arc from NetGalley and absolutely loved it. This is a middle grade book and it follows a young girl as she ventures to the North Pole. I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. I can't wait to read any more books that are released within this world. It's definitely one to pick up if you enjoy middle grade or if you've got someone in the 8 to 12 age bracket. Yet another e-arc, That Old Black Magic by Kathy Unsworth. I think I said that right. I gave this one 4 stars and really, again, enjoyed it. This is also set within World War II times. No one is surprised, and it doesn't actually focus around the war, it focuses around magic and Scottish folklore, and the twists and turns of this book are insane, and I really enjoyed it. So I definitely recommend this one. I made my boyfriend just sit quietly for 20 minutes to let me finish it, because I was so close to the end and I was like, no, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks, just let me finish. Really good book. Then started the books that I read for the 7 in 7 readathon. First up was The Punisher Volume 2 by Gareth Ennis, Lewis LaRosa and Tom Palmer. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It's the first ever physical comic I've picked up, and I wasn't expecting there to be so little content. Like, I knew they were thin, but I thought more would happen. I will have a more detailed thing of all of my thoughts of the 7 in 7 books I read in my 7 in 7 readathon vlog. Then I read Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I've given this 4 stars. It's a collection of short stories that he's written about the Norse mythologies, and they were just really engrossing. You speed through them. My phone's going off and I didn't want to put it down. It was so good. I read this all in one day. Next up was The Essential Spike Milligan, a compilation of his work. This has got poetry, scripts from TV shows and radio shows, memoirs, child poetry and adult poetry. There's loads in here and it's like quintessential British humour. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, and I think if I reread it I could give it 4, but I was trying to read through it quite quickly for the readathon and it made it not as good, so I think if I reread it at a slower pace I'll really enjoy it and it'll get 4 out of 5. Then next up was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I absolutely loved this. At the beginning I thought it was cheesy and annoying and oh, they're just copying Harry Potter in like the cheesiest way. It gets so much better. Like 70 pages in and suddenly I cared and I was like, yes, okay, I'm reading this. I absolutely loved it. I love the bit at the front, like with all the people so you can see what they look like. And I just loved, I didn't love all the events because some of them were sad, but I loved the way it was written, and this is definitely a really good book, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Then the last book that I read for the 7 in 7 readathon was After Anna by Alex Lake. This is a mystery thriller, psychological thriller, and it screwed me in the head. This absolutely screwed me up. Again, my phone's going off. Shush! So in this, you know both of the major plot twists. Well, you're told one of the major plot twists on the back. The young girl called Anna is kidnapped, and then she's given back. And then when she gets given back, at 197 pages into this like 400 page book, you can kind of, the next twist is like who took her. And you get some little excerpts from their point of view, and I thought I could tell straight away. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's them. And it turns out I was right. But even though I guessed it, that didn't make it any less mind-bendy. And I was so engrossed I couldn't put it down. My aunt gave me this book and she read it as well, and once I finished it I like threw it to the floor and phoned her. I was like, what on earth have you given me? Because it massively screws with your head. And yeah, it somehow managed to do that even without the shock of a twist that you weren't expecting. So this is really well written. Then we move on to the only book I've completed so far for the booktubeathon, which is I Used to Know That Geography by Will Williams. This is a little non-fiction book that follows the basics of geography that's taught from ages 14 to 18 here in the UK. It was really fun to read, geography degree, so I really enjoyed it, and it was nice to go back to the slightly more simplistic level of education and not have to try so hard. Like, it wasn't like a textbook where I was struggling to read through it. I knew what was happening, so I really enjoyed reading through this. Then today is the 31st of July, so technically I still have some of today left, and I'm reading Anne of Green Gables, and my aim is to finish this by the end of today. I'm going to watch an adaptation of it as well for part of the booktubeathon challenge, so I should also have read this in July. I'll try and remember to let you know when I wrap up August, but yes, this should also be part of my July wrap up if I manage to finish it in time. So thank you so much for watching, guys. If you've read any of these books as well, or if you think I should try and read Othello again, leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought of them. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll be posting a few more booktubeathon videos in the coming days, so if you want to see them, keep an eye out. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!